of the Kashmir Valley. We're joined by Sajad Lone. Sajad, thank you for your time. Let me start by asking you your first responses. In a way, it might have been what you expected. I'm sure you were mentally preparing yourself for it. What do you say?
It was disappointing. We always thought, we were hoping against hope that the abrogation will not be upheld. But somehow they did it. But then this is the law of the land, and that's how they have decided to interpret it. So there is very little we can do.
You say there's very little we can do. Why are you disappointed? In a way, it's been 4 years since the abrogation. I'm sure in many ways you've also got used to a Kashmir after the abrogation, used to a life after the abrogation. Why in particular were you disappointed? What might you have expected from the court instead?
No, we would have wanted the court to restore the position before 5th of August, which we felt, and there was no assembly, nothing at all. You see, I do not want to be contemptuous of the court or indulge in anything which might tantamount to contempt of court. But I, as an Indian citizen, have a right to say that I don't agree with this verdict, and I don't believe that justice has actually prevailed. But then that's how the apex court looks at it. So, as I said earlier, there is very little we can do.
You sound very resigned and sad. What is the word you would use to describe how you're feeling right now?
Nay, it is, you have to understand, it's not, although the essential content of Article 370 had been eroded over the last 4 or 5 decades by successive central governments, and at times in collusion with the state governments. But there is a certain emotional brand value for every Kashmiri for Article 370. It's a very emotional thing, and it will always be a part of our aspirations, and we'll always be longing that maybe the future of India, there would be secure people who rule the government one day, would be very secure and allow freedoms, or I would say decentralization, allow more competencies to all states, not only JNK. Let's hope that day comes one day.
Now, tell me this. You said you don't want to be in contempt of court, but at the same time, you don't feel justice has prevailed. Do you accept this as the end of the road, or are there going to be more legal fights ahead? What are you thinking?
We'll certainly explore the legal space. Per se, it seems there is very little legal space left. But Barkha, you are also a very experienced journalist. You also know there is never a start or an end in politics. It's an unending thing.
I personally believe, I could be wrong, I personally believe this is the end of the road for 370.
That's good. If that makes you happy, why should I?
No, it doesn't make me happy. It's just a matter of fact statement. What don't you think? You're a hard-nosed realist. You're a man of many avatars, right? You've been a separatist. You were the first separatist to field proxy candidates in the 2002 elections. You've been somebody who's been, had a good partnership with the BJP. You've called the Prime Minister your elder brother at a different point in time. You've seen it all. You're a hard-nosed, realistic politician. Do you not accept that today you as a politician, by the way, your Twitter bio still describes you as unemployed. Today you have to get out of that unemployment and rebuild yourself as a politician.
Nay, I'll tell you one thing. What has happened is we are all victims of them versus us, right? Like you look strictly like them, right? Earlier on, I used to think you are us, but now you are them, and I don't.
How am I them? 1 minute. ये आपने मेरे को जो categorize किया है, इसको वापस लीजिए. मैं ना इधर की ना उधर की, मैं अपनी. मैं सिर्फ अपनी.
अब देखिए, आपने इतनी बातें बोली, मैं चुप रहा, आप मेरी भी सुन लें. And I don't blame you, given the state of media. I would do the same if I were in your place. So don't worry about that. There is nothing wrong about it.
I don't agree with you for the record, but you're entitled to your opinion. But go ahead. हमारा एक टैगलाइन हमारे प्लेटफॉर्म का एक टैगलाइन है ना चमचा ना मोर्चा, so we stick to that. But go ahead.
Right. But let me tell you one thing. How cannot a very bright journalist like Barkha Dutt forget Article 370 की तो बहुत सारी ramifications हैं, legalities हैं. But let us look at the question of statehood, relegation from UT to a state. How cleverly justice has been, this maze of justice. I don't know what words to use, but on one hand, they have ensured that this relegation does not apply in future to any other part of the country, and this does not be a precedence by not talking about it. Yet, very obliquely and subtly, they endorse it. Have you ever seen such legal jugglery?
Can you explain this point a bit more? I don't think this has been
Tell
well
me one
appreciated.
thing. One of the
Yeah.
biggest problems in relegation was that if Supreme Court upheld it, then relegation could be done in any other part of India. But in today's verdict, while they don't undo the relegation, they ensure that it is not applied to any other part of India. It's a very big thing. Just don't answer me now. After this program ends, think about it, what I said.
No, I think you raise a valid point, and it's going to take some careful reading of the
So,
judgment. And
while there is
yeah,
no space, for two constitutions, as the Apex Court says, how can there be space for two sets of laws in one country? That you obliquely, subtly endorse one thing, and while is ensured that it's not repeated anywhere else in the country.
so you are saying that this judgment, according to you, has one set of standards for Kashmir and Jammu and
I didn't
Kashmir, I
say
should
anything.
say.
I just talked about,
Okay, let me frame it more accurately. You are saying that while this decision has been upheld, there is also enough in the verdict that ensures that this will not be tried with another state. It could
yeah.
be argued. That's what you're saying, right? And that amounts to, if I were to summarize it, that amounts to a different standard for J&K and a different standard for other parts of the country.
Okay, mark my words, legal jurists across the world will take it as a dichotomy. It will be debated for sure.
Okay. Let me ask you what next. Was there anything in the judgment that gave you heart? There is Justice Sanjay Kaul, a Kashmiri himself, a Kashmiri Pandit. Not that one should link identity to judgments, but I couldn't help noticing that. Calling for a Truth and Reconciliation Commission, looking into violations by both state and non-state actors. That is how he described it. He said that this should be time-bound before memory escapes. You're seeing those quotes on your screen. There is the Supreme Court calling for a time-bound restoration of statehood, for elections to be held at the earliest. What I'm trying to suggest to you, Sajad, is that if this is inevitable, as Dr. Karan Singh called it today, he said this is inevitable. If this is inevitable, what does it mean for political leaders like yourself?
देखिए जहाँ तक Truth and Reconciliation Commission है, if you remember, in my humble capacity, I had written a document to Jubal Nationhood, and I had written
I remember it well. Yes.
that we need a Truth and Reconciliation Commission. That's one saving grace, and I hope that they don't paint it in a different manner and link it to 370 or whatever. And from 1980 till now, yes, I think we need a closure. Every single thing, every single FIR needs to come in there. Every killing, including my father's killing, okay, including Maulana Farooq Saab's killing, including Mir Mustafa Saab's killing. Everything, including 1987, everything needs to come in that Truth and Reconciliation Commission. That would be one saving grace for the people of J&K if they actually do it. Whether they do it or not, I don't know. Whether it's a binding, I don't know. I haven't read but that's one what Justice Cole has sort of, that particular thing is something which at least somebody, talks about the pain, and that too, it includes state and non-state actors. That's very, very important. Right, and we have to give the due where it is, where they deserve it, and I really feel they deserve this thing, that state and non-state actors. That's something which is unheard of in J&K, and I'm sure that if they actually go ahead with it, a lot of wounds will heal. But that state had they given open and timeline that restored it. That's equivalent to saying not whether you say it or not. You see, if we have a timeline for elections, why not a timeline for statehood? वो तो कोई एंटी इंडिया चीज है नहीं statehood मान. So that is something. You see, I'll tell you one thing. There is an element of pretense in the judgment, which is bad in law.